Okay, so someone recommended we check out this Lewis Anderson guy for tech help, in Gloucester. And honestly, there's just so much stuff online about him. It's kind of hard to know where to start. Like, he's got his business website, LJA Web. But then there's also his, personal blog called Success with Lewis Anderson.
Yeah, you don't see that every day.
And then there's his LinkedIn and even, a full CV online, too.
Wow, you really weren't kidding about the amount of stuff online?
Oh, and I almost forgot there's also a whole page on his site just about the services he offers.
Oh, hey, at least we're not going in blind, right? This is like a 360 view of the guy.
Exactly. I mean, the first thing that really jumped out at me was his blog. He seems like kind of a character. Like, he's not just some techie who only cares about fixing computers, you know? He actually calls himself a quirky mind, which, I mean, maybe that's a good thing, right? And then he starts talking about all this stuff like AI and robotics, even astrology and quantum mechanics.
That's definitely not your average tech support reading list.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you wonder, could this guy be like a total genius? But on a serious note, I do think it shows he's probably a natural problem solver, Like, he's always looking for new angles and connections that other people might miss.
That's a really good point, because who wants a tech guy who's, stuck in their ways? You want someone who's thinking outside the box. And speaking of angles, he seems really big on being local to Gloucester. He even calls himself the friendly neighborhood IT enthusiast at one point.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah.
And he definitely plays up that whole supporting local business thing. Like, he mentions that choosing LJA Web means you're also choosing a company that cares about sustainability and all that.
Which, hey, is definitely a smart move these days.
For sure. Especially if you're someone who's environmentally conscious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, okay, enough about his personality for a sec. Let's get down to brass tacks. Can this guy actually walk the walk when it comes to tech skills?
Well, from the looks of his CV, it seems like he's got a pretty impressive track record. I mean, he's been immersed in the tech world since 2008. And he's been a dedicated IT pro since 2013.
Oh, wow. So he's not just some newbie who just discovered computers yesterday.
Exactly. And the best part is he's held a bunch of different roles. So he's got experience with a wide range of tech stuff.
So he's not just a one-trick pony.
Right. You don't want to have to call in 5 different specialists for every little thing.
Ugh, tell me about it. Been there, done that. So what kind of places has he worked at? Anything that rings a bell?
Let's see. One that really jumps out is his time as a senior IT support specialist at ProCook.
ProCook. Like the kitchenware company.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
He was managing their entire IT setup. We're talking about over 50 stores.
Wow, that's a pretty big operation. That's definitely dealing with some serious real-world tech challenges, not just fixing a home computer.
Exactly. He's got the experience.
Okay, that is reassuring. But did he actually list any specific systems that he's a master of? You know how some tech people are. If it's not their specific area of expertise, they're totally lost.
Totally. You don't want to have to shop around for a different IT guy every time you have a new problem. But honestly, it seems like Lewis is pretty comfortable wearing a lot of different hats, which is great news if you've got a lot of different tech needs,
So he's like the IT version of a Swiss Army knife, ready for anything.
Exactly. He lists a whole bunch of systems and software that he's worked with. Windows Server, Exchange, Office 365, whole bunch of different cybersecurity tools, even access control systems, which is like a whole other beast.
Wow, he really does sound like he can handle just about anything. That's good to know. But does he just swoop in when things break? Or is he more about preventing problems before they even happen? I mean, that's what you really want in an IT guy, right?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't want someone who just puts a Band-Aid on the problem and calls it a day. You want someone who's proactive.
Exactly.
And thankfully, it seems like Lewis gets that. On his looking for an IT professional page, he talks about how he helped a client recover from a ransomware attack in just 2 hours. Can you believe that? 2 hours.
That's incredible. Those ransomware attacks can be totally devastating. Yeah. So knowing that he's proactive like that is a huge plus.
It really is.
And it shows that he's thinking long term about his clients' needs, not just about quick fixes.
100%. And, he also mentions that he uses Veeam and Datto, which are specifically designed for backup and disaster recovery.
Oh, wow. So he's really got all his bases covered.
It seems like it. It's not just about putting up a firewall and hoping for the best. This guy's going the extra mile.
That's awesome. Okay, so we've established that he's got the technical skills, the experience with big and small setups, and a focus on preventing problems instead of just reacting. That's a pretty good trifecta so far. But let's be honest for a sec. A tech person is only as good as their ability to communicate clearly, right? Like, can you actually stand talking to this guy?
That's so true. I mean, we've all been there with those tech people who are like speaking a foreign language.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's like they're speaking Klingon or something.
Right. But I think that's where his blog and his LinkedIn come in handy. They give us a glimpse into his personality. And from what I can tell, he seems pretty approachable, maybe even a bit quirky, which honestly can be a breath of fresh air in the tech world.
Oh, totally. A little personality goes a long way.
For sure.
And it's cool that he's not afraid to talk about his interests outside of IT, too. Like on his blog, he talks about personal growth and even spirituality.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
And, for some people, that could be a big selling point.
Right.
It shows he's got a life outside of computers and might be able to relate to you on a different level. He's not just some robot who speaks in code.
I like the sound of that. Okay, so we've established that he's not just some faceless tech support voice, which is definitely a plus. But what about staying current with, the ever-changing world of technology? Because let's be real, you want someone who's on top of their game, not stuck in the technological Stone Age.
Oh, for sure. You don't want someone who's still using dial-up.
Exactly.
But I think his simple AI solutions project is really intriguing. Like, have you had a chance to look at that at all?
I haven't checked it out yet.
It was actually pretty cool. It's this online education platform he created to teach other people about AI and content creation.
Wow, that's impressive. So he's not just learning about this stuff for himself, he's actually taking the time to teach other people.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
It tells me he's really passionate about learning new things and that he actually enjoys sharing that knowledge with others, which is a great sign.
It is.
Because the tech world moves so fast, you really want someone who's always a step ahead.
That's so true. It's like having a tech guru who's also a teacher at heart.
Exactly.
Okay, that's really cool. But let's face it, we've all encountered those tech folks who are brilliant, but they just can't explain things in plain English to save their lives. Like, you ask them a simple question and they give you this long-winded technical answer that leaves you even more confused than you were before. Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you mean. It's like they forget how to speak a normal person. Right. So based on what we've seen, how do you think Lewis stacks up in the communication department?
Remember how we were talking about his blog earlier? And how he's not afraid to get a little philosophical and stuff?
Yeah.
I think that willingness to engage with different ideas makes me think that he's probably pretty good at explaining complex concepts in a way that anyone can understand.
Okay, that makes sense.
Plus, if you look at his LinkedIn recommendations, a lot of people mention how patient and helpful he is.
Well, that's always a good sign.
It is.
Because nobody wants to feel like they're back in tech support hell, trying to decipher what the voice on the other end of the line is saying.
Oh, God, no. Nobody wants to go back there.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about his technical expertise, his experience with different scales of work, his proactive approach, and the fact that he seems like someone you could actually have a conversation with. What stands out to you as the most compelling aspect of his profile so far?
That's a good question. When I look at his background as a whole, it's not just one thing that grabs me. It's more like the overall picture,
Like, what do you mean?
Well, he's like this really unique blend of tech wizard and approachable neighbor.
That's a good way to put it.
It's not every day you find someone who can troubleshoot your server and then chat with you about the meaning of life.
Right. It's like he's multifaceted.
Exactly. And to me, that suggests that he understands that technology is ultimately a tool to help us live better lives. It's not just about wires and circuits and all that stuff. It's about connecting with people and solving real-world problems.
It's like he's bridging the gap between the digital world and the human experience.
Exactly.
I like it. So if you're in the Gloucester area and need someone to, demystify the world of tech, Lewis Anderson might be your guy. But hey, don't just take our word for it. What would you recommend our listener do to see if he's the right fit for them?
Well, I always think it's a good idea to trust your gut. Like, maybe take a look at his website, read a few blog posts, see what you think. And hey, if you're really feeling it, maybe even reach out for a quick chat, just to see if his communication style resonates with you.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because at the end of the day, you want someone you feel comfortable working with, someone who understands your needs and your priorities.
It's all about finding that right connection,
Yeah.
Both technically and personally.
100%.
And hey, who knows, maybe he can give you a quick lesson on quantum mechanics while he's setting up your new Wi-Fi router.
Now, that would be a bonus feature. It's a really interesting project, and it shows a different side of him.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not every day you find a tech guru who's also like a teacher at heart.
Right. And I think that actually might give him an edge when it comes to communication.
How so?
Well, think about it. Teaching someone something, especially something as complex as AI, requires you to break down complicated ideas into digestible chunks, right?
True.
So maybe he's better at explaining things in plain English than we think.
That's a good point. I mean, it's not a guarantee, but it's definitely a good sign.
And remember those LinkedIn recommendations we were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
A lot of people specifically mention how patient and helpful Lewis is. Like, even when they're struggling to explain the problem, he's super understanding and takes the time to really listen.
Okay, that's definitely reassuring. Nobody wants to feel like they're being talked down to or treated like they're clueless just because they don't speak fluent tech jargon.
Exactly.
So, okay, we've talked about his technical skills, his experience, his approach to problem solving, his communication skills. What about the bigger picture? When you look at Lewis Anderson's profile as a whole, what's the one thing that stands out to you the most?
You know, it's funny you should ask that.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's not really about any one specific thing. It's more about the overall impression he gives.
Like, what do you mean?
He just seems different than a lot of other tech people I've come across.
Different good or different bad?
Definitely different good. It's like he's this unique blend of, tech wizard and approachable neighbor.
It's not every day you find someone who can fix your laptop and then discuss the meaning of life with you over a cup of tea.
Right. And I don't know about you, but I find that really refreshing.
Oh, totally. It's like he's a real person, not just some tech robot.
Exactly.
So for someone in the Gloucester area who might be looking for some tech help, what would you say is the most compelling reason to consider Lewis Anderson?
That's a tough one. I mean, he seems to tick a lot of boxes. He's got the skills, the experience, the proactive mindset, the communication skills. But I think for me, it really boils down to his overall philosophy.
What do you mean?
He seems to really get that technology is just a tool.
Okay.
It's not about the gadgets or the jargon. It's about using those things to solve real-world problems and make people's lives easier.
So he's not just in it for the tech itself. He actually cares about helping people?
Exactly. He seems to genuinely enjoy using his skills to make a positive impact on the world.
And that's something you don't always see.
For sure. I mean, think about it. How many times have you encountered a tech person who made you feel like you were bothering them with your problem?
Don't even get me started.
Right. But with Lewis, you get the sense that he's actually invested in helping you. Like, he's not just going through the motions. He actually wants to find a solution that works for you.
Okay, I'm sold. But let's be real for a second. We've been singing this guy's praises for a while now. But what's the catch? There's got to be something righty.
I know it seems too good to be true. But honestly, I've been racking my brain trying to think of a downside. And I'm coming up blank.
Really? Nothing?
Okay, maybe there's one thing.
Okay, I'm listening.
He seems like a pretty busy guy. I mean, he's got his own business. He's running this online education platform. He's super active on social media.
So you're thinking he might be spread a little thin?
Exactly. Like, he might be one of those people who's so passionate about everything that he ends up overcommitting himself.
Okay, that's fair.
And if that's the case, it could mean longer wait times or maybe even rushed appointments if he's trying to squeeze everyone in.
Yeah, that would definitely be a downside.
But then again, it could also mean that he's incredibly efficient and organized and can handle a million things at once.
True. I guess there's really only one way to find out.
Right.
So what do you say we reach out to Lewis and see if he's up for an interview?
I'm down if you are.
Sometimes it's that gut feeling that leads you to the perfect tech guru.
Absolutely. Finding the right IT person is kind of like finding a good mechanic or a trustworthy doctor. You want someone who's not only skilled, but also someone you can trust and understand.
Someone who speaks your language, gets your frustrations, and can translate all that tech jargon into plain English.
Exactly. And it sounds like Lewis Anderson might just be that person for someone in Gloucester.
Right. With his blend of technical expertise, down-to-earth communication, and commitment to his local community, he's definitely an intriguing prospect.
He is. And, it's that willingness to combine his passion for technology with his broader interests that I find really refreshing. It suggests he sees the bigger picture, how technology can serve a purpose beyond just fixing a broken computer.
It's like he's using his powers for good, helping people navigate the digital world while staying grounded in real-world connections.
Precisely. And that's a powerful combination.
So there you have it. We've taken a deep dive into the world of Lewis Anderson and his unique approach to IT. We've explored his background, his skills, his personality, and even his penchant for the philosophical.
We've gone from robotics to ransomware, from astrology to access control systems.
And through it all, we've uncovered a tech professional who's not afraid to be himself, quirky mind and all. Hopefully this deep dive has given you a clearer picture of who Lewis Anderson is and what he brings to the table, but ultimately the decision is yours.
That's right. Do your own research, check out his online presence, and see if his style resonates with you. Because finding the right IT person is a personal decision. And it's all about finding that perfect fit for your needs.
And who knows, maybe you'll even bond over a shared love of quantum mechanics while he's upgrading your cybersecurity.
Now, wouldn't that be his story to tell?